In this video, we're off on a huge road trip within Australia. We're driving about 1,000 kilometres north from Melbourne to the Blue Mountains, just outside of Sydney. Hi there, this is Maximo and welcome to Maximo's Travels. If you're wondering why is he posting a trip about the Blue Mountains in between his European series, it's because, viewers, I am about 6 months behind in my editing. Unlike the last couple of years where I didn't travel at all, I've had an abundance of trips and I'm so far behind the editing that I thought that for a little while I'll post twice a week just to catch up and to try and be a bit more recent in my travels. We left Melbourne in late December 2022 on a very dreary and drizzly midsummer's day. We had a 10-hour and nearly 1,000 kilometre trip ahead of us. As we drove further north and climbed over the Great Dividing Range, the weather cleared and, as you are about to see, gave way to really nice bright blue skies and much warmer temperatures. I won't be posting any sounds from our driving because we were listening to audio books for most of the time. If you're interested, the audio books was Busy as Fuck, which was a self-help book about bizifying your life, and the latest Jack Reacher novel by Lee Child. We left home at about 6 a.m. Our first stop was Wangaratta, which is about 270 kilometres from home and about a 3-hour drive. We had the opportunity to stop for breakfast and also had a driver change. The city Wangaratta has a estimated population of about 19,000 people, and it's located at the junction of the Ovens and King rivers, which drain the northwest slopes of the Victorian Alps. The first European explorers to pass through the area were Hume and Hovell in 1924, who named the area the Oxley Plains, and incidentally the Hume Highway, which is the main thoroughfare between Melbourne and Sydney, was named after Hume, the explorer. We had breakfast at the Purview Cafe, which is right on the banks of the Ovens River. A very nice and pleasant outlook, but unfortunately the food was a bit on the average side. I did get my drone out, but unfortunately was unable to take off because there was light planes flying in the immediate vicinity. Damn shame. I'm sure that would have been quite a nice look from the drone. Oh well, always next time. So we headed off again, and not too long afterwards we crossed the New South Wales Victorian border. Our next stop was Holbrook. Holbrook's about 384 kilometres by road northeast of Melbourne and has a relatively small population of about 1,700 people. Hume and Hovell were the first explorers in this area in 1924 as well. The town Holbrook was originally called 10 Mile Creek, and the first buildings were erected in 1836. In order to honour Lieutenant Holbrook, the town's namesake, the Holbrook Council acquired a portion of HMAS Ottaway, an Oberon-class submarine, after it was decommissioned by the Royal Australian Navy in 1995. The town raised some money and erected the Submarine in one of the big parks at the northern end of town. It certainly is a very strange sight to see, seeing a submarine in the middle of a park which happens to be located about 250 kilometres from the nearest ocean. It was good to get out, stretch the legs, have a look around the submarine and actually climb on top of it. By this stage in our trip, we'd driven around about 400 and something kilometres north of Melbourne in about 4.5 hours, and the temperature from 6 a.m. from about 14 degrees had made its way up into the high 20s, and it was reasonably warm. Hey, this is Maximo, and here I am in Holbrook in New South Wales. We've driven about 385 kilometres north-east of Melbourne on our way to the Blue Mountains. So this is a very nice stop along the way if you're looking for a bit of a rest, because it's a very long way between Melbourne and the Blue Mountains. This town is just off the Hume Freeway. Lovely town. We're at the north end of it, very nice garden and restaurants and cafes and a place to have a nice break. And in this park you will find a submarine. Yes, a submarine. We hit the road again, and we decided to stop and fly the drone and took some nice shots of the Hume Highway and the surrounding countryside that you can see at the moment. The stop was just outside of Gundagai in New South Wales. We jumped back in the car and continued on to Gundagai. It's just over an hour and about 120 kilometres from Holbrook. We stopped there, had a coffee and a bite to eat and a driver change. Hey, here I am in Gundagai, and behind me is the famous Australian monument, the dog on the tucker box. The dog on the tucker box was based on a very famous poem from the 1850s. I'll leave a link in the description. We're just outside of Gundagai, about 9 or 10 kilometres to the north of Gundagai. So the dog in the tucker box at Gundagai isn't actually at Gundagai, it's just to the north. It's right near a petrol station and cafe, so another really good place to come for a brief stop. I'll get out the way and let you have a good look at the statue. Gundagai is about 390 kilometres southwest of Sydney. Gundagai was established as a township in about 1838. The inspiration for the statue can be traced to a poem published in about 1857 called Bullyocky Bill. It basically describes a series of misfortunes faced by the driver, which culminated in his dog either sitting on or spoiling the food in his tucker box, otherwise known as a lunch box, or a box that holds food. The statue was first erected in 1926, and it has been vandalised a number of times and moved at least once. Stop number 5 and a fill-up of petrol and driver change was at Goulburn, home of the big Marino. I am in Goulburn. Goulburn's a city or a town about 195 miles southwest of Sydney, and it is our last stop before we head to our destination in the Blue Mountains. Behind me, what you can see is the Big Marino. The Big Marino is the world's largest concrete sheep. We certainly go the extra mile on this channel to bring you all the different unique experiences, don't we? Anyway, I think I might have a walk around the Big Sheep, which is just located in Goulburn, and it's basically a service station with a big concrete sheep standing guard on it. There's the sheep. And there's the petrol station. At least I've got to fill up. There we have it, the Big Sheep. So after driving for about 10 hours and driving over 930 kilometres, we arrived in Leura in the Blue Mountains in New South Wales. It started raining as soon as we got there, but we were fortunate that it only rained on a little bit on the first and a little bit on the last days that we were there for our 7-night stay. It's a delightful country town, and I did do a walking tour, and I'll be publishing that in the weeks to come, as well as some of our excursions into the Blue Mountains and some of the stunning scenery and landscapes in the area. Now the reason that we came to the Blue Mountains is that it's always been on my bucket list. I've always wanted to come here, and I'm really glad I've got the opportunity to come here. In terms of why we drove here, it is a rather long way. It's around about 1,000 kilometres. And the reason for that is, one, we didn't want to be caught up with all the hassles and delays and lost luggage and other issues with flying over the Christmas period. Number two, I guess avoid COVID, because I think there's a fair lot of infections out there at the moment. And three, we had a car to tour around Leura and the Blue Mountains. It is a fairly easy drive from Sydney. It's only probably a couple of hours. It's about sort of 10 hours from Melbourne. So if you want to come here, easy day trip from Sydney. It's a considered trip from Melbourne. And the fourth reason is that we had the opportunity to stop at a number of interesting places on the way up. You'll see those places in the video. So signing off from the Blue Mountains.